first royal visit to Rwanda, where we go to now. The Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall are representing the Queen at the Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit that starts in Rwanda tomorrow. Only a week ago, The Times reported that the Prince described the government's policy to deport migrants to Rwanda as appalling. Comments the palace have not yet denied. Which shall all make a private meeting over tea between Charles and Boris Johnson at the summit on Friday rather interesting. Joining us live from Rwanda is the Sun's royal correspondent, Matt Wilkinson, who has been with the royal couple all day. Matt, hi, thank you for joining us. That really is going to be one massive elephant in the room, isn't it, when those two have their cup of tea? And Prince Charles said to be not a huge fan of our Prime Minister.
No, as I say, Boris is flying out, we think tonight, or he's flying out soon, and as you say, they're going to be having a cup of tea together at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting here in Kigali on Friday, the first time since these alleged comments that about the deportation he said was appalling. And I was thinking, well, what can be more British than a PM and a future king sorting out a beef over a cup of tea? Charles has taken over as the head of Chogm from the Queen. And he's kind of on dodgy ground here because the Queen, she never speaks politics. She rarely lets people know what she's thinking on any of the big matters. Her skill, really is to be boring, to not get involved in controversy. So we're told, although the big elephant in the room, we're told that Charles and Boris, they'll be talking about the Prince's Sustainable Markets Initiative, which, Tom, it is dull, okay? It is dull. So Charles is possibly on safer ground, or has been advised to be on safer ground and stick to the uncontroversial topics, and in this meeting maybe be a little bit more boring.
You really do sell it, Matt, but it's that wonderful phrase, isn't it? Let's drink tea and never talk of it again. But look, meanwhile today, the Prince and Camilla have been meeting survivors of the Rwandan genocide, an atrocity that claimed to cause nearly 1 million lives in the 1990s. Quite an experience for them, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, as someone said, somber, but I mean, that's only the half of it. I mean, they appeared affected by what they saw, and I think everyone was. I mean, who wouldn't? We were there at the scene of 250,000 bodies in a mass grave. There was a church where tens of thousands were massacred, and Charles did look visibly shaken. He read these testimonies of children who have been burnt to death or killed among the bodies in these mass graves at the genocide memorial. We were with him, and he doesn't say much when he's on these jobs, but today he muttered, terrible, happens all too often, which did sum up what was going on. And Camilla was by his side the whole time, and she uttered, what humans can do to other humans. At one stage, she was hugged by a genocide survivor who was discussing her experience of what happened in the 90s. Charles then went on his own, and he looked very affected by some burial pits containing 10,000 dead Tutsis who they'd sought shelter at a church back in the genocide in '94, and they'd all been killed. He was pausing by the coffins. He was looking at the glass cases containing skulls and bones. People who'd been brutally killed, and at one stage he said, when we were there, he turned to the lady who was taking him round and said, "This must never happen again. We shall continue to remember." Now, Clarence House spokesman, since this visit today, they've said in a statement, they said that both the Prince and the Duchess were struck how important it is to never forget the horrors of the past, but also were deeply moved as they listened to people who have found ways of living and even forgiving the most appalling crimes. And that's really important, because there was optimism here, because the Prince met killers and the victims' families, who now live side by side at a reconciliation village. So after listening to their stories of there's a Hutu perpetrator and one Tutsi whose entire family was wiped out, he said he was full of admiration, and they'd managed to overcome the past. He said that it had been so how difficult to forgive these quite awful horrors. So this reconciliation, this idea of reconciliation is very important out here in Kigali, and maybe with this meeting that's coming this week, maybe something to future forward to the rest of the week when he's here.
Okay, Matt, thank you, and thank you for persevering with the link there to Rwanda, where it's obviously quite late at night where you are.